Hi there, everyone. It's 4 o'clock in the East. The real, duly elected President of the United States, President Joe Biden, on his first foreign trip today, seeking to align the United States with the world's democracies. While here at home, the other party, the Republicans, continue a campaign to undermine our democracy, all in service of a twice-impeached, disgraced ex-president. And nowhere does that campaign, fueled by the big lie of a stolen election, collide so directly with the counterpush to save our democracy than in Arizona, home to one of the handful of Democratic senators whose opposition to eliminating the filibuster stands in the way of voting rights reforms that can put a stop to all the GOP-led voter suppression bills, and where the sham audit of 2.1 million ballots is essential to fueling and keeping alive the big lie. A call for help today from Arizona Democrats to Senator Kyrsten Sinema, asking her to support filibuster reform and clear the way for Democrats' sweeping voting reform bill. In a letter, they write this, quote, "We call on you to do everything necessary up to and including reforming the filibuster to pass the For the People Act. Our democracy is too important to be sacrificed at the altar of archaic and anti-democratic Senate procedures such as the filibuster." All this is happening as the sham audit in Sinema's home state rolls through its 7th week. The circus of a recount run by a company owned by a supporter of the Stop the Steal conspiracy, which at one point entailed searching for bamboo in the ballots because of some weird conspiracy theory that they were shipped in from Asia, has now become a pilgrimage site for Republicans who support the big lie, many of them hoping to replicate the sham audit in their own states in order to breathe fresh life into the baseless conspiracy of a stolen election. NPR is reporting that in just the last few days, Republican officials from Nevada, Georgia, and Alaska have visited the recount site, and lawmakers from Wisconsin and Virginia are expected there this week. Meanwhile, new reporting is shedding light on all the links between the phony audit and the Stop the Steal movement and the disgraced ex-president himself. Documents released by a watchdog group show that a correspondent for One America News with close ties to Trump has been helping Arizona Senate Republicans in their audit for months. New York Times reporting people in former President Trump's circle joke that the most senior advisor to the former leader of the free world is Christina Bobb. She's a correspondent with the far-right, eternally pro-Trump One America News Network, whom he consults regularly for information about the Arizona election audit. And while the ex-president has pinned his delusions of a return to power on the Arizona audit, and his Republican allies across the country are using the audit to stoke the conspiracy of election fraud, there are signs out in the real world, on planet Earth, of a backlash. Also from the New York Times, the review of 2.1 million votes in Arizona's most populous county has ballooned not just into a national political spectacle, but also a political windsock for the Republican Party, an early test of how its renewed subservience to Trump would play with voters. The returns to date are not encouraging for the party. A late May poll of 400 Arizonans by the respected consulting firm High Ground, Inc., found that more than 55% of respondents oppose the vote review, most of them strongly. Fewer than 41% approve of it. But by 45 to 33%, respondents said they were less likely, much less likely, to vote for a Republican candidate who supports the review. The Arizona faux audit as a danger to democracy is where we begin with some of our favorite reporters and friends. Arizona Republic reporter Ryan Randazzo is here. Also joining us, Jason Johnson, politics and journalism professor at Morgan State University, as well as a contributor to MSNBC and The Grio. And Charlie Sykes is here, editor-at-large for The Bulwark and an MSNBC contributor. I usually start with the news and the reporting. I'm going to do something different today. I want to start with the best smoking gun evidence of why this is all BS on the part of Republicans. And I want to show you the governors, Charlie Sykes, bragging about how secure their elections were, while they are now signing into law voter suppression laws to deal with how insecure their elections were. Let's start with that tape. Let's see that.
The people are actually looking at Florida and asking the question, why can't these states be more like Florida? Florida was able to handle 11 million ballots. The way Florida did it, I think, inspires confidence. I think that's how elections should be run.
Me signing this bill here says, Florida, your vote counts. Your vote is going to be cast with integrity and transparency.
As I've said before, we do elections well here in Arizona. The system is strong, and that's why I have bragged on it so much. This bill is simple. It's all about election integrity.
I mean, look at Texas, Florida, and Ohio. We didn't have any problem counting all of our mail-in ballots, and we have more mail-in ballots than anyone.
The bill is needed because Americans no longer trust the system. And a country where voters do not trust the system is a country in peril.
Charlie Sykes, I'm going to play that every day until I get tired of it. These Republicans told everybody that their election results could be trusted because they were in charge and they were so good, they were models. Now they were signing laws based on lies that they know are lies because they told the world they are lies.
Well, think about how fast this has accelerated since November. We thought that the country was divided and that we were a post-fact society, and it has moved quite a distance because this has now become the heart and soul, the beating heart of the Republican Party is to embrace this big lie, to cast doubt on the election, and to use that then as an excuse to change the laws. And, you know, as we've said before, you know, we can roll our eyes and treat the Arizona audit as a joke, but a clown with a flamethrower still has a flamethrower. And the danger of this is that this is spreading from state to state. And as those sound bites illustrate, you don't actually need to have any evidence that there was a problem for the Republican governors and legislatures to embrace the big lie, to embrace the theories, or to go in and begin to change that. We are post-evidence. There is no logical connection to it, except that this has become gospel in the Republican Party. And it is not just Arizona. I think that the latest count, you had legislators from 7 states visit this Arizona audit. So what you're seeing here is about to metastasize across the country.
You know, Jason, I think there's something exasperating for our viewers and for people I talk to not on television as well about this dynamic. But it doesn't have to be this way. The whole thing, the whole wave of voter suppression laws can be undone by one piece of legislation. And I think the letter from Arizona Democrats that we mentioned in the lead to Kyrsten Sinema puts her on the spot. She either sees no evil in her own state, hears no evil, isn't aware that this has become like a wacko's mecca here, this fake recount in Arizona, and she has no interest in changing a tradition in the Senate to do something about it.
Yeah, Senator Sinema, Nicolle, is in a very different position than, say, Joe Manchin. And it's not just because the Democratic Party in Arizona is much more organized and can actually show some victories in the last couple of years. What they're pointing out is her argument, her justification for being in power. Remember, when Sinema first won her Senate seat, she basically ran saying, I'm the only kind of Democrat that can get elected in Arizona. So you have to deal with my quirky attitude and my occasional inconsistencies about policy because that's what Arizona wants. Well, okay, now they have put in Mark Kelly. Now Arizona has flipped blue. And you're not the only kind of Democrat who can win in this state. So you have to actually listen to your constituents, not just the independents and right-wingers, but also Democrats. So this is the kind of pressure that I think could end up making a difference with her. But again, it's just one vote. Unless it also turns into some sort of push on Joe Manchin, you need both of these Democratic senators to actually care about democracy more than their own pocketbooks or their own egos in order to make a difference and stop these ridiculous attempts to overturn an election that are happening around the country.
Let me just follow up. Why can't a group of people who care about democracy, Jason, make the filibuster so toxic that it's a political vulnerability for sort of moderate or endangered senators in both parties? Why can't it become this impediment to access to the right to vote, an impediment to not living in a country where everyone is armed and dangerous? Why can't a campaign be launched by people in both parties to make people understand that the filibuster stands in the way of bills with 60, 70, 80, 90% public support?
Well, that can be done. The question is going to be whether or not that moves the senators, right?